It is Wednesday, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, and it is 5:34. Calexico City Council, Calexico Redevelopment Successor Agency, and Calexico Financing Authority regular meeting. So this meeting is being called to order. Roll call.
Mayor Rola Fernandez,
Here.
Mayor Pretend Moreno,
Here.
Councilmember Ureña,
Present.
Councilmember Romo,
Here.
Councilmember Garcia.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mayor.
Okay. Now, this is a closed session.
Ma'am, we do have a public comment for closed session.
Sure.
We're going to be calling the gentleman right now so that he can make his comment.
Okay.
And his name is David Garcias. Mr. Garcias?
Yes.
You may proceed with your comment.
Yes. Are you ready?
Yes.
Can hear it.
Okay, hi. Thank you, members of the council, city manager, members of the council, Madam Mayor. My name is David Garcias. I'm the president of SEIU Local 221, and I represent the wastewater certified operators. During the pandemic, our workers stayed at work, making sure the water operations continued. Even though many people could work from home, our workers continued to work at the water plant to ensure safe and clean drinking water. We have two reasonable proposals we are hoping the city will consider. One is equality in certification pay. Due to a clerical error, 2 to 4 employees get less than their counterparts. And it was a minor clerical error that we discovered, and we have been working with HR, but it would allow an equality for all the workers to get 5% for their state mandated certifications that benefit the city and make sure their jobs, that they do their jobs correctly. The second one is the cost of living increases. We received the counter, and we know the city is receiving approximately $7 million from the American Rescue Plan that SEIU helped fight for in Congress. We know the money, part of that money is so cities can provide their essential workers in state and local governments premium pay such as hazard pay because they worked during the pandemic. We've accepted some of your proposals and we've counter-proposed some changes, but we are trying to be reasonable in our efforts because we want the city to succeed. But we also know our members continue to see increases in costs for gas, groceries, healthcare, and other necessities, and they have to take care of their families and continue to report to work at the city they truly care for. So I'm hoping you will look at our proposal in the reasonableness that we provided it, and in those two critical proposals, I think our members are willing to settle the contract if we can come to an agreement. We know that we want to be responsible workers and not hurt the city. But we also know we have to take care of our families, and we have been through quite a bit through the pandemic. So we ask the city to please be reasonable and consider our proposals and continue to work with us as we continue to provide the services to our community to make sure it's safe. So thank you very much.
That is all, Madam Mayor.
You have to redo to the.
Due to the declaration of emergency, this meeting is being held pursuant to authorization from the governor's executive orders. Some or all of the city council members may participate in this meeting by teleconference as authorized by Executive Order N 2920, issued by the Governor of California on March 17, 2020. The Imperial County Public Health Department has provided the city of Calexico with orange tier, moderate tier guidelines issued by the state for indoor gatherings. Effective this date, city council meetings will be open for limited public attendance. Per the provided guidelines, all attendees must show proof of negative test or full vaccination prior to entering the meeting. All persons entering the City Hall will be required to wear a face mask and observe social distancing guidelines. Public participation will continue to be available via Facebook, communityspectrum.org, via Zoom, and public comments will be continued to be received by 2 p.m. today. Public comments should be submitted also through Zoom, and they should be submitted to through the Zoom chat. They can state whether they're going to be a public comment or an agenda item number.
Okay, this meeting's been adjourned to closed session, and it is 5:40.
We're going to have a closed session.
Yeah. Good evening. Calexico City Council, Calexico Redevelopment, Successor Agency, Calexico Financing Authority. It's a regular meeting, 6:30 p.m. This meeting is being called to order. Roll call.
Mayor Ariola Fernandez,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Moreno,
Here.
Councilmember Ureña,
Here.
Councilmember Romo, here, Councilmember Garcia.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you. Pledge of allegiance. Please, Chief, will you lead us?
Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Fire Chief, will you lead us with the city statement?
City of Calexico mission statement.
Together we pledge to provide effective and efficient services in a courteous and respectful manner to improve the quality of life for all in our unique border community. Viva Calexico.
Okay. Lovely Heavenly Father, we come to you this hour asking for your blessing and help us as we are gathered together. We pray for your guidance in the matters at hand and ask that you will clearly show us how to conduct our work with the spirit of joy, enthusiasm. Give us the desire to find ways to excel in our work. Amen.
Amen.
Closed session announcements.
There were no reportable actions taken.
Okay. Approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda with some,
Yeah, Madam Mayor, at this time right now, I would request that the council please consider the consent agenda without items 10 and 11. Those items need to be further reviewed with legal at this time.
okay? So now?
I'd so move.
So move. Second?
I have some discussion on the motion. I would like also to remove item 17 from the agenda. When I made the request for this item, I specified Assembly Bill, not the Senate Bill 339.
Okay. Okay, now, moving forward,
No, there needs to be a change in the motion.
Yeah,
we
there has to
change
be.
the motion. The motion should be changed as, with the consent agenda deleting items 10, 11,
And 17.
and 17. Now?
So moved.
Okay, presentations.
Oh, Councilmember Garcia?
Aye.
Councilmember Romo? Aye. Councilmember Urena?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moreno?
Aye.
Mayor Arturo Fernandez?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay. Mayor from Mexicali, Guadalupe Mora, will not be able to join us today. She did send a memo or telling us that due to unforeseen obligations, she wasn't going to be able to be here. Or you want to?
That is correct, Madam Mayor. Her office profusely apologized for not being able to attend today as they had originally said they would. Some matters came up in their business agenda that did not allow them to come over. However, she does mention that she does want to make up the date and hopefully be with us sometime soon.
Okay, thank you. Proclamation honoring National Police Week. May 09 through 15, 2021. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15 as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which May 15 falls as National Police Week. And
Whereas the members of the Calexico Police Department play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of the city of Calexico, and
Whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency, and that members of our law enforcement agency recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. And
whereas the men and women of the Calexico Police Department unceasingly provide a vital public service,
Now therefore be it resolved, the City Council of the City of Calexico call upon all citizens of Calexico and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of Sunday, May the 9th through Saturday, May 15, 2021 as National Police Week with appropriate ceremonies and observances in which all of our people may join in commemorating law enforcement officers, past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to their communities, and in so doing have established for themselves an inviolable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens.
City Council further calls upon all citizens of Calexico to observe May 15 as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of those law enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their community and to have become disabled in the performance of duty. And let us recognize and pay respect to the survivors of our fallen heroes. In witness, whereas I, Rosie Arrola Fernandez, Mayor of the City of Calexico, hereon to affix my signature and official seal of the City of Calexico on this 5th day of May, 2021.
So on behalf of the men and women of the Calexico Police Department, I want to thank the city for reading this proclamation out. This was established back during the great times of President Kennedy was our president back in the 60s, and it was he, under the Congress that he worked for, that established and named May 15th as a day to memorialize police officers who have passed away in the line of duty. Unfortunately, the city of Calexico does have one officer by the name of Adrian Costa Cordova, and he passed away in 2007. I'm sorry, 2001. Geez, it's been that long. And his mother was our city clerk. He was a local boy, a Marine, Bulldog, and a Calexico police officer. Died tragically in an accident. Unfortunately, we lost somebody, and hopefully throughout the rest of my police career and the career of these ladies and gentlemen here, that we don't have to bury another one of our fallen officers, because it really affects you for the rest of your life. Thank you very much. With everything that's going on in the world, believe me, we try to do our best with what we have and how we do take care of business. And as much as people talk about police, you do have a police department that does respect people and does their job to the best of their ability. And we will keep on doing our job the way we're supposed to. We were trained to do it, and with the new coming and the new changes that are coming, and as your administrator, as your chief of police, we are striving as this administration to go along with the changes that are going to be made. And we have made changes even before they mandated our changes. So I want to thank all of you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, presentation of recognition for outgoing police explorer Captain Exxon Luna.
Yeah, it's our show today. So, you know what? It gives me great honor. I was born and raised in Calexico, just like Mr. Luna here from Calexico, went to Calexico High School. At the age, he beat me though, because at the age of 14, he became an explorer for the city of Calexico. I did it when I was 16. He did it when he was 14. This young man has reached an age where he can no longer be a police explorer. If we would let him, I'm pretty sure he would stay. He turned 21 because of the rules of the Calexico Police Department and the Explorer program through the Boy Scouts of America. He can no longer be wearing an Explorer uniform. Luckily for us, this young gentleman here is going to San Diego State. He's getting his degree in public administration. This Aztec, as soon as he graduates, he's going to put himself through the police academy. And he just told me right now, when I asked him, where are you going to want to work? He says he wants to come back to work in Calexico. If I'm still around, and if whoever's around, guys, I'm telling you, you better do what you can to hire this guy. I said, because it's people like him, dedication as an explorer, rising up the ranks from just a regular explorer to an explorer captain, that really sends a message of leadership. He was an honor guard. He was, he did all the events. I mean, I don't know how many events he did, Captain Luna, doing all this time, because every time they needed a color guard, you were there. You were there as a regular explorer and as a corporal, as a lieutenant, and then a captain. He skipped sergeant. He's so good that he said, I don't want to be a sergeant. I want to go from corporal to lieutenant, and he did it. So he set his goals to do it, and I want to present him with this plaque. And this is the first plaque that I ever present to anybody that has aged out, kind of like retirement. And it gives me great honor and joy to represent this. And it says, it's got the Explorer. It's got our badge. It says Explorer, Calexico, California. And it says, the word of recognition presented to Calexico Police Explorer Captain Exxon Luna. Thank you for your dedication, loyalty to the citizens of Calexico and the Calexico Police Department. It's dated May 5th, 2021, Police Chief Gonzalo C. Gerardo. And I want to thank you very much. Next time, if you want to come and get this, I also got you a little cup. And it's got his badge, and it says Captain Luna, and it's a tumbler. So I want to thank you. To learn, and he's done it before. Can you say some words to the audience? This is what we teach our explorers.
So I want to thank everyone that's been here. I served as a police explorer since 2014, serving with all my explorers. And anyone who's 14, I encourage them, whoever wants to become a police officer, or anyone from law enforcement to join our program. It will motivate them to become a police officer, whatever they want to do. So I thank everyone. I served as an explorer for around 6 years. I met some great people, some officers, sergeants, chiefs, and I want to thank everyone who gave me the opportunity to be a police explorer. Thank you.
So you tell me if our program is not good when you can have somebody come up there and speak at this young age, where a lot of people are very shy to do it. Like you said, so real quick, like, can my explorers that are here in uniform and non-uniform, can you guys please stand up? Even former explorers, can you stand up so you can show our council who you guys are? So these are our current explorers. You guys can sit. This is our future, guys. I mean, this is who we need to invest our time and effort to. And I do have the Explorer advisors. I have Daniela Murillo, who's a dispatcher, but she's an advisor. I had Sergeant Acuna, who was the advisor at the time. Now he handed it over to Sergeant Legaspi, so we can keep it going. You don't want the same people to do it, get burned out. So how many people here, officers here, were explorers when you were? You got 1, 2, 3, 4. You got a chief, a sergeant, a lieutenant, and 2 officers that were explorers. So that's where it's at, guys. So it's really good. It's really, to me, it's really good program, and I hope that we can continue this program. Had it not been for COVID, we would have had more explorers because the high school is where we draw them from. And I'm hoping that, this coming year, we can draw more explorers from Mr. Mike Davis's law enforcement class. We draw a lot of them from there, and it starts at a young age. And so if we can teach these officers, young explorers at a young age, how to be officers, how to be mentored right, we will have a very good police force in the future. That's it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, moving on to item 6, presentation by Mayor Pro Tem Moreno regarding the Farm Worker Service Center.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, everybody, and congratulations. Where are you, Captain? Captain, and congratulations on your achievement. Thank you. Moving forward, we met with the stakeholder on April 26th, which was Monday. We had a regular stakeholders meeting to discuss moving forward with the Farm Workers Service Center. We had finally United Farm Workers Foundation representative showed up, and really looking forward to partnership with Catholic Charities. Catholic Charities was also part of the meeting. They are interested. Obviously, they're going to submit a proposal by our next meeting, where potentially they're going to have a contract in place. The location we identified, which we did make made a walkthrough, was on Tuesday, April the 27th. It's the orthopedic clinic. For those of you know that live here, it's located on 356 East 1st Street, next to the old tourist parking lot, which has the potential for growth there. And I'm also thrilled to say that we did receive those trailers. I believe Mr. Figueroa is going to talk about it later on tonight. There's also room to put those trailers there at the tourist parking lot. Also, the Farm Workers Service Center is going to take care of the issue with the sanitary problems that we've had for decades and decades, when those field workers had to stay out there and they don't have any sanitary facilities. And also the temporary, shelters that they experience when it's cold, and also when it's hot during the summer days. So we're looking forward to working with the Catholic Charities. And as you all know, they're a big pedigree in the nonprofit organizations at the Southern California area. So moving forward, our next meeting is going to be a couple of days before our next city council meeting, so we can ratify that and bring it here to the dais for our approval, for everybody. All the city council members can have input and have any questions, concerns, and we can all vote for it. And also for the citizens of Calexico, and last but not least, the farm workers population, which we're in need of this service center. So that's pretty much my update on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Javier.
I had 2 quick questions on the Farm Worker Service Center, just very briefly. The first one was, if I heard correctly at the last presentation that you gave, did you say that after this budget process, you would come back to the city? Pretty much, is the city going to have to put any financial money resources in your plan at this moment?
In terms of the budget, it's no impact on the city budget.
Okay, sounds good.
Right.
And the second concern, so you can calculate it into your plans, is with the use of the social services trailers that we're going to get from social services. It's good that we designated to the farm workers because the farm workers are an at-risk population. We just have to be very careful that we leave some for the homeless people, not just the homeless people in general, but also the homeless farm workers specifically. So that when you're making your calculation, you know, farm workers that are housed, let's help them, but also let's leave space for farm workers who are homeless and just regular homeless people.
Yes, thank you. And just to reiterate on that, you do have a point on that. I appreciate your questions. Just to address the cities of Calexico, it's originally that those trailers came from a mandate through the Governor Newsom's office through Project Room Key, which back then, a year ago, was the COVID-19 pandemic, which was, those trailers were specifically used for that, right? But some things have changed since then. So we do through the governor's office, and then through the Board of Supervisors, we do have some flexibility how we're going to use those. And also, we do get those, once we set them up, there's mandates and regulations we have to follow, so to address those populations like you're concerned with the farm workers. So yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Javier. Okay, moving on. Presentation by City Manager Figueroa regarding New River Improvement Project, Calexico Reach.
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you, members of the council, members of the community, those that are joining us for the first time in over a year here in the chambers. I do have something important to share with you. As you know, as the City of Calexico, are the lead agency as it pertains to the local partnership that we have with the Imperial Irrigation District and the County of Imperial as it pertains to the New River Improvement Project. As we know, through the media, through these meetings, we've been providing updates in terms of the $28 million that were secured partially from Prop 68 and partially from the state's general fund. It hasn't been an easy task to finish the funding agreement process with the state. And the reason for that is because it's a complex project. Not all the time does the state approve projects like the New River project. It's unique, right? So there are a number of things that need to be factored in. With all that said, and with the hard work that we've put in over the past, I would say 5 months, I'm happy to share that we have executed the funding agreement with the Department of Water Resources. With that said, what happens next? Everything is going to begin to move a little faster now that we have the funding agreement. What does that entail? That entails that we need to secure the regulatory permits for the project. And when we were able to do the mitigative negative declaration in compliance with CEQA, we identified that there has to be a federal permit through the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. There's a state permit that we need to secure through the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. And there's a second one that we need to secure through the Regional Water Quality Control Board, specifically the Colorado River Basin Office, which is the one that falls under the jurisdiction of Imperial Valley, and in this case, the New River. With that said, this council has simultaneously helped me and my team, and by team I mean my partners at the county and the IID, in making sure that we simultaneously move forward, aside from securing the funding agreement. What does that mean? We procured and brought in a company that's assisting us as it pertains to the work for the regulatory permits. We have secured meetings with each of the 3 agencies that I referenced, so we already are moving forward in the process to secure such permits. We've also have been working through our project manager, Mr. Jose Angel, in making sure that we work with the other government entities, both from the state and the federal level, that have some type of jurisdiction over the New River here in Calexico. So at this point, everything is moving. We anticipate that what we've very ambitiously have pinpointed in our project schedule is that we want to begin the actual construction of this project by the end of this calendar year. Again, a very ambitious goal, but with all the background that I've given you that we've been working on, to this day is doable. I want to commend the support that we've received from Cali, PA, specifically from the Assistant Secretary and her team, who have been instrumental in being our eyes and ears up in Sacramento throughout the process. At the same time, I want to commend my partners at the Regional Water Quality Control Board, and I want to commend the IID, and I want to commend the County of Imperial. It's needless to say the support that we've also received from the Office of Assemblyman Eduardo Garcia. Please be on the lookout, community members, because I plan, along with my partners, to have another community forum like the one we had at the latter part of 2020, in which we're going to be giving you the details of a lot of what I've shared here today with you folks. So again, thank you for the support, and we continue to move forward.
Okay, moving on to presentation by Blanco Morales, Calexico Wellness Center.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Blanca Morales. I'm the CEO of Calexico Wellness Center and also the founder. I brought with me Angelica Salazar. I am actually also from Calexico. I was born in Mexicali, raised in Calexico. My mother was a farm worker, and I came here to Calexico about 4 years ago and noticed that there was a great need for healthcare, okay, and how we can make it better. So here we are. What I wanted to do is I want to thank the City Council for giving us the opportunity to do this small little presentation, and also for partnering with us in regards to our COVID-19 clinic that we started back in February. So Angelica here, Salazar, is also, I want to congratulate her. She just graduated. She's now the nurse practitioner and is going to be joining our clinic. So, Angelica?
Thank you, and thank you for having me tonight. I've been a nurse since 1999. My lifelong goal was to work in a Hispanic community. My father was a farm worker. I grew up in Salinas, California, but I remember as a child coming down here to visit when he would come for the season. So anyway, here I am, and I strongly believe in your mission statement of Calexico. I also believe that the Calexico Wellness Center follows that mission in helping the community provide these services, improve the quality of life for all. So I'm glad to be a part of this community. So thank you.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is just give a small little presentation update on where we're at. Of course, we're nowhere finished with vaccinations. We are been very fortunate with the partners that we've had, the county, the IID, the other nonprofit organizations, the coalitions. And what I wanted to show you is so far, if we go to the next slide, we started in February. We started the last week of February. And if you go to page 2 here, in February, the last Wednesday, we started doing it outside. We did drive-thrus. We did 109 vaccinations. That's when we're getting 100 vaccines a week. In March, we did 801. And April was our biggest month. We started receiving more vaccines, so we did 1,448. As of May, we have 500 patients scheduled. That was as of yesterday. So our total vaccinations have been 2,858. As of yesterday, Calexico's been the highest vaccinated city for 20,107. So we've done 14% of that total 20,000. We could have done more, but I know that they were distributing a lot of the vaccines up in the north, El Centro, Brawling Island. So, and pharmacies have been doing them. So, we were all trying to get a little bit of those vaccines and trying to get to everyone. But I want to thank the staff, Calexico Wellness Center, which we're a skeleton crew, but we had a lot of good luck with volunteers and the board of directors that allowed us to take risk and do some things that was impossible, but we made it happen and we continue to make it happen. Okay, so if we go to the next slide here. The COVID-19, we had to prioritize. So when it first came out, we had to follow the CDC guidelines. We have Dr. Lickenstein there, who's our medical director and such a great leader and a preceptor. So we had to follow the guidelines with the senior citizens. And, aging is all about living. We totally love our seniors. Our farm workers that were out there still working to provide food on our table. We started also collaborating with San Diego State to get the teachers and the students, the City of Calexico employees, United Postal Service workers, UPS workers, IHSS workers are approaching us. And right now we're vaccinating everyone who's 18 years and older at our clinic. So I wanted to show you this. This is as of today on where we're at. Calexico still continues to have the most positive cases. And I really want to encourage everyone to still be tested. There's a lot of testing out there. We're doing it for free. The state has provided a bus that I saw today over here at One Stop. And we need to not get comfortable because we've had the vaccines. Please let everyone know, and I'm alerting everybody to still be tested. There's still a lot of people that don't believe in the vaccine. So it's very important because we're continue to be the highest in positive COVID here. So we go to the next slide. And this is going to show you the actual numbers as of this morning, where we're at with the county's reporting here, how many COVID-19 vaccines were administered. This is actually as of 5/5. I have 5/4 up there because I had yesterday's, and this morning I was able to get the new. But again, Calexico remains to be the highest vaccinated city, so that's great news. Of course, we're a border town, so we are also encouraging the people that are crossing, that are for here to work and vice versa, and because it's still very important that the border, as being a border city, that we all get vaccinated, okay? So I want to give a special thanks who sponsored us with the facility. It was extremely difficult, but we made it happen. We were doing the first vaccines through the drive-through. It was hard for some people to get out of the cars, and there's things that we had to accommodate every patient that was coming to us, especially the seniors. But the City of Calexico did donate the facility, the Carmen Durazo facility, so it made things operationally to go a lot smoother. So I want to thank the Mayor, Rosie Arriola, and the City Council members. I want to thank Miguel Figueroa, the City Manager, the Fire Chief, Diego Favila, who had his crew out there in the beginning. He even brought his wife to help us. So thank you very much. And the Recreation Manager, Norma Gerardo, who we coordinated the days and what we needed to do to get that facility ready and cleaned up. So thank you very much, City of Calexico, for allowing us to be able to get this done. We couldn't have done it without you. And then I want to thank all of our help. My gosh, we had so many people come volunteer. We had our classmates, Catholic Charities, Equity and Justice Coalition, Salud Sin Fronteras, the Red Cross. Salud Sin Fronteras, what they did is they actually went out and got a lot of the farm workers' list, names, phone numbers, and so we were able to schedule them. So one of the key things that helps us why we're different is that we do a lot of outreach. We go out, we talk to the people. These people are lost in our city, and they're not educated, they don't speak the language, they're confused. So we did a lot of educational as of why it's important to be vaccinated, and Salud Sin Fronteras did that a lot with us. And then, and the Red Cross donated water. I mean, we had so much water because it was hot. And then we had our people directing traffic. So this is it. And we continue to do it. We're gonna now do 3 days out of the week at our clinic because it is getting warmer out there. And I know that there's other activities that are opening up at the Carmen Durazo. So we're gonna continue to meet the needs of the community to keep everybody healthy. Okay, any questions?
No. I do want to thank you, Blanca. I would have my vaccine there, and let me tell you, it was, the experience was awesome in the sense that in and out within 20 minutes. Hi, Gabby. Thank you so much for your
You're
service.
welcome, thank you.
Okay, moving on to bi-weekly COVID-19 update presentation.
Good evening, Honorable City Mayor, City Council, our staff, and more importantly, the members of the community that are able to sit in here with us today. I appreciate that. It gives me joy to look over the seats and actually see some of the citizens of Calexico here, something that we've been wanting to do for quite some time. We do ask that you bear with us as we have this happening. We're trying to make everything perfect for everybody and follow all the recommendations. One of the recommendations that we recently received was from the Imperial County Health Department, Janet Angulo, and one of them is the reason we're here today is that we're allowing the 50% capacity of this conference room, and there are some requirements. So I apologize if some of these are new to you guys, and I did know that I did check on the city website, and I'm sorry, I apologize to you that we didn't have it noted on the website, but we will fix that today. So what it is talking about 50% of the people, and all the people in attendance should be either totally vaccinated or show completion of a negative test within 72 hours before they're allowed into the building. So again, I apologize that it wasn't on the website, but after this meeting, it will be posted. Thank you to Blanco Morales for all that you do, what you guys do at the Calexico Awareness Center. Just looking at that whole operation from the very beginning to where it is now, it's a true definition of community and the way that Calexico is as a community. It was pretty nice to see how everything came together, and I appreciate everything you guys are doing. Same with Dr. Vos. I think you guys are very professional and it was very efficient. Blanca showed up the numbers on the screen, but I'm going to say them again verbally, just in case nobody was able to catch them. So these are for the numbers for the city of Calexico. Total cases is 7,108. The active cases is 42. The last time we were here, it was 54, I believe. So we're dropping or showing a steadily decline, and that brings us joy here. And obviously, the number that I've always said is my favorite is the total recovery rate, right? The 6,838 of our citizens have recovered from it, and unfortunately, we have had 228 deaths within the city of Calexico. COVID, we still remain in the orange tier, just as well as 41 other counties in the state of California. Most of the counties are already operating in the orange tier. There's 4 that are in the yellow, and if our numbers continue as they are, hopefully we'll find ourselves in the yellow. And then again, we'll have to make accommodations for those new regulations. So one of the biggest guidance that came out over this past couple of days, as a matter of fact, I think it was posted yesterday, was the guidance on face coverings, right? I know it's out there on social media, but I'm just going to read it for you guys, for those that don't have social media. For fully vaccinated persons, face coverings are not required outdoors, except when attending a crowded outdoor event, such as a live performance, parades, fairs, festivals, sports events, or any other similar settings. If you are unvaccinated person, face coverings are required outdoors anytime physical distance cannot be maintained. So if you're by yourself, you can be without the mask. If you're around other people, maintain the mask on. This includes when attending crowded outdoor events such as the live performances, the parades, the fairs, the festivities. If you are in an indoor setting outside of one's home, you still need to wear your mask. As you find in the CDPH fully vaccinated person guides, the fully vaccinated person can visit without wearing a mask or physical distancing with other fully vaccinated people indoor or outdoor. You can visit without wearing a mask or physical distancing with an unvaccinated person from a single household. And some of the exemptions, let me see. Nope. And you also have to wear your mask if you're around somebody with a low risk health hazards. There's a lot going on with COVID that remains the same in the city of Calexico. Obviously, our testing sites remain the same. The vaccination sites remain the same. One thing that is different that the fire department has seen recently is our homeless community. A lot of times, unfortunately, we're running calls on these homeless people, on the community, and they're not up to date with a lot of the standards that we have that are constantly changing. You know, it's every week that they're changing. So what we are planning to do at the fire department, and we've done it on a couple of occasions, is hand out literature to them. Now, you hand out the literature, do they have access to a phone? They don't. So what we're doing is we're taking count of the people that allow us to do the vaccination registration for them. Because we see a community here, but there's members of the community that are homeless that the public doesn't see. Why? Because they want to stay out of sight. We only know they're there when we get calls for emergency. So what we want to do as the fire department is to help them out as well. So we're going to give them the literature, and if they're unable to fill out the literature or make access to it, we are going to try to do our best to make sure that they're all accommodated, whether it be the vaccination or the testing or whatever services they need. And that's a start we're going to do, and that's my COVID update. Anything else or questions?
Just big thank you for thinking about our homeless community, for expanding access. I mean, yes, absolutely, yes, that's what we should be doing, including them as a part of our community. So thank you.
Of course, and not only to the homeless people, we're also doing to some of the elderly people that we respond to. A lot of them still have regular house phones, and they don't have the cell phones, or they don't have family members that can keep them up to date with this. So we're reaching out to them as well. So just know that the fire department is trying to do everything we can, working with the clinics and our citizens.
Chief, I do want to congratulate the firefighters. Yesterday was the Firefighters' Day, and Pro Tem and I took a cake over. I hope you enjoyed it. And
I appreciate
I want
it.
to thank you for all your hard work.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. And the guys did enjoy the cake so much that they did not leave me a slice for this morning. It would have been nice to have at least a slice with coffee, but I appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Announcements?
These proceedings may be viewed on the City of Calexico website at www.calexico.ca.gov the Friday following the City Council meeting. Community office hours with Mayor Adriana Fernandez will be had on the fourth Tuesday of the month from 2 to 4 p.m. Please contact the City Clerk's office at 760-768-2102 for an appointment.
Public comments? Mr. Escobar, would you like to say something? Wherever you want.
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members. A couple of updates, actually 4 updates, but you already talked about 2 of them. One is COVID-19, I think between Calexico Wellness and Chief Avila, I think we talked about that. The one thing I would add, and we talked about it last week or a couple weeks ago, is that we're hitting a plateau. And Blanco can probably attest to this in the fact that it's getting harder and harder to fill our clinics. And we talked about the most vulnerable, which are the homeless and our senior citizen population. Unfortunately, the numbers don't lie. And we've hit a plateau because there's a lot of naysayers out there. My age group is one of the naysayers, Generation X. We go down to Generation Y, we go down to the millennials. Why? Because more than likely they're just gonna get a cold. But they put, more than likely, senior citizens and the people around them at risk, because those are the people that always are the most vulnerable from a health perspective. And I was interviewed, and it's very challenging to convince the naysayers to get the vaccine. It's almost impossible, because they have it ingrained. It's either not safe, they don't care about it, they're fine, and it's not going to affect them. So that is a definite challenge that we all have, because again, those naysayers are approximately 30 to 40% of our population. And this is nationwide, it's not just Imperial County, it's nationwide. So that's definitely an issue that we are facing, and it's an extremely hard task to overcome, because again, it's very challenging to convince them to get the vaccine. So enough on COVID. The other one is Project Room Key. I believe I was the bearer of good news. but I guess the good news travels fast because you all know about the approval from the County of Imperial on the travel trailers coming to Calexico, originally destined for COVID-19 homeless. As you may remember, 6 months ago, IVC, the parking lot for the gym where we had the mobile hospital, was packed with travel trailers, homeless population. Obviously, we need to disperse these to our communities. City of Calexico is getting 10, and we're also, through Operation Room Key, State of California, we're also assisting with City of Calexico in the operating costs, which again, you're aware of. Just a couple of reminders, and I wrote them down because I think it's important that you're fully aware. I gave you homework assignments last time, and I didn't get any emails from either one of you. So just a reminder, estoy jalando las orejas. I've been driving around the outskirts of Calexico. It's very important that we get as many roads on the project, on our SB1 funding for our specific area, which in my case is Calexico in our case. I found a few more roads, so I've got Clark Road north of 98, which is in bad shape. Balker Road north of Cole Road, which is in bad shape. Jasper Road, did I say Jasper Road already? No, Jasper Road, which is a shared road between the county and the city, so I can work with Mr. Fiera to see how we can tag team in getting that rehab because that's also in bad shape. And lastly, Anderhold Road, north of Highway 98, State Highway 98, that's also in bad shape. That isn't traveled as much, so we might have a hard time on Anderhold. I believe we can definitely make a case for the other 3 roads. And again, I encourage you, our city manager, Public Works, anybody that can assist me with some roads that I may be missing. Again, I continue to drive to find roads, but again, it's based on usage as well. And if they're not used, even though they're in bad shape, it's hard to justify the funding for it.
Just a very quick question. What's going on with Carr Road going to the new port of entry? When you're on 2nd and it turns into Carr Road? Do you know which one I'm talking about?
No, I
okay.
apologize.
When you go on 2nd Street going east, 2nd Street going east, you keep going, it turns into a county road. That county road to the new port of entry has been closed for years now, I think.
That is because they need to fix the bridge specifically, and there's been a lack of funding for that bridge, and it's literally because it's a lack of usage. I tend to disagree with our Public Works Department because, again, there is specific, I drove it quite a bit, but I have a business there, so I may be a bad example. But that's something, technically, it is already on our to-do list.
Well,
the specific bridge, which is the issue, not necessarily the road, but the bridge.
You have to tell your Public Works director that, you mean, like we had in that meeting with the Transportation Commission, it's about induced demand. If you open that road, that's the road to the new port of entry between Calexico. 98 is saturated. We need a new avenue to the new port of entry. The demand is there.
And again, my understanding is that bridge will be fixed, which will allow access on that road.
God bless.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yes. Real quick. Thank you for the update, Supervisor Escobar. In terms of measurement, how do we assess? Because you talk about like the frontage road that needs to be assessed to justify the traffic. So what system to have?
It's based on road conditions and it's based on traffic.
Okay, so how do somebody stand out there and count cars? How do we? Because I know I can tell you, I travel and there's a lot of cars.
It's basically based on population and based on the usage. Is that based on a formula on population?
Okay, thank you.
Lastly, when it comes to the ports of entry, I'm going to be attending a meeting. I believe we will be attending a meeting tomorrow. I've talked to our police chief on this down. And he's mentioned quite a bit how, and I've seen it, I lived it, I actually crossed the border quite a bit. As you know, once COVID hit, they started closing for passenger vehicles at 2 p.m., Calexico East. What happens after 2 p.m., everybody comes to Calexico. De por sí es un desastre. This makes it even worse. So, again, we are one of the very few southern ports that has reduced hours of operation. Most other ports, across the board, non-resident aliens, those aren't crossing. I'm not arguing that point. What I am arguing is the fact that why are they penalizing the city of Calexico by continuing to keep the hours of operation at 2 p.m.? I think that's something we have to advocate for them to increase the hours back to our standard times, which was midnight, or at least give us a lot more leeway during our heavy hours, which is 4 to 7 roughly,
Yeah.
which is when most of the people working in Imperial County travel back to Mexicali. So it's important that we advocate for that. I'm going to be pushing for that tomorrow, and it's a daily push. It's a daily push because again, if it were across the board like the non-resident aliens, that's a separate matter altogether. This is not. This is just affecting us and a couple other ports along our southern border. So it's very important. Lastly, GSA. I'm going to try to get GSA is very hard to pinpoint and get an appointment for a presentation. I'm going to coordinate a presentation on an update as they continue the construction for the expansion of our Calexico West Port of Entry from 10 lanes to 16 lanes.
Yeah.
Where we stand, just general information. And I'm going to coordinate with our city manager, Figueroa, if it's something that interests this council, to try to coordinate that same presentation for the city of Calexico.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Definitely.
I believe that is it. Again, stay safe. We still haven't won the battle with COVID. Please do the best that you can, especially with those naysayers, because again, they're the key to really defeating this disease, this pandemic, sooner rather than later. Questions?
Also, Mr. Escobar, you did receive news how, when you're coming from Mexico, how they're narrowing it down to just 2 lanes and doing extra with inspections, and then they're letting them go. You know, before you get to the booth, you were aware of it?
Come again on that.
Okay.
First of all, what port of entry?
Okay, I'll have you here quick explain.
So, Mr. Beltran from CBP, who we speak with on a monthly basis, informed the mayor, and then he later shared with me that just as a matter of courtesy, they're letting us know that they are going to put to practice, which I believe started already this week,
7 o'clock.
a practice in which they're just going to verify that people that are traveling south-north through the Calexico West Port of Entry with the proper documentation, just to verify, one, that they are actually eligible to cross. One, because they want to make sure that they, one, are coming over with the proper documentation, and second, by the time they hit the booths are going to spend less time doing the verification or even in their secondary inspection. So the intent is just to expedite to some extent the crossing. Our understanding is that they had been doing that practice on the pedestrian side, but they're now moving forward and doing it as well on the vehicular side. So possibly more than likely tomorrow, they're going to be sharing that with us as well.
Yes,
as a courtesy call, they let us know because they began this week.
The pedestrian port of entry has been employing that for, I'm going to say years at this point. Before you cross the railings, you have to show your Sentry card, your resident daily, whatever it is, however you're going to cross legally, that's being shown. I crossed today at the Calexico East Port of Entry. They weren't doing that. My wife crossed yesterday at the Calexico West, and they were employing that action. And again, if it expedites the process, that's great. But if it puts us behind the 8 ball, then it makes matters even worse.
Yeah.
So again, maybe a question for tomorrow, Mayor, is making sure that this is going to assist us in moving traffic flow in a more expeditious manner.
Definitely, thank you.
So piggyback on your matter there. I was a recipient of those services today because I did go for business to Mexicali, came back real quick to the Sentry, and they were doing that inspection. Yeah. To me, I think it was like an overkill because it's really not doing anything. All it is an inspector going, and so I showed them, and there was nothing, but yeah.
That's exactly what happened to my wife yesterday.
Right.
Again, that's Calexico West. I cross Calexico East. They're not doing that. Okay.
Right.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any more public comments?
I have one written comment, and I have one in person. Ms. Norma Aguilar.
Good evening. My name is Norma Aguilar. First of all, I just want to say congratulations to Captain Exxon Luna for his service to the Police Explorer program. Proud to say that he's also a criminal justice major at San Diego State, so good on him. My presence here is to call your attention to the fact that Measure H has not had a public report on the finances of that measure in over 5 years. I was part of the original appointees to this measure, and I reached out and offered my candidacy, or whatever you want to call it, to be able to be appointed, and Mr. Daniel was kind enough to appoint me. So I sent an email to the city clerk, who redirected me to Ms. Lobatos, and I followed up with a phone call and an email, and in it I am requesting a historical report of Measure H, a 5-year revenue report, and I'd like a legal clarification on the revenue that is coming in. As I watched your last meeting, there was an indication that there was revenue above and beyond that was projected. So if there's money above and beyond what's projected, and certain monies were committed from Measure H in the secondary bond that was passed by previous councils, then that means that revenue is not under the jurisdiction of the city manager. It is under the jurisdiction of the Oversight Committee. And I also call attention to that terminology. I've been hearing people referring to the Oversight Committee as a commission. It is not a commission. It is an Oversight Committee, and it monitors the expenditures. It's basically a watchdog for that fund. So those are public funds, and they need to be clarified. I think it will benefit you as a council, and it will benefit us as a community. That's one point, or several points. I just want to comment on the trailers for Calexico. Some of you may know or may not know that I served as a founding member for the Brown Bag Coalition. And I want to call your attention, if you are going to target homeless people, we do have in the homeless community elderly people. And so those would be somebody that you want to look at. We have people between the ages of 80 and 90. And then with the summer coming up, those are the people that unfortunately suffer the most. We've had 3 deaths of elderly homeless people in the past 5 years. So please consider that. People who are elderly or have chronic conditions. And the final thing I want to call your attention to is that there are several lighting here on Heber Avenue, and it's really dark. Like in the next block, there's one light is flickering in and out, and the other one, the post is completely gone. It's actually, there was a light post across the street from my house. I live at 839 Heber Avenue, so and at one point, I don't know if it was IID funded lighting or the city, but it is pretty dark in the next block. So if you can have somebody perhaps look into it, we'd appreciate it. People here on the next blocks on Heber Avenue. And that's about it. I thank you, and I look forward to hearing back from Ms. Lobatos and getting that meeting started for Measure H. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any more?
Gilberto Manzanares.
Buenas tardes, Consejo. Mi nombre es Gilberto Manzanares. I'm here because I'm really glad that we're still talking about COVID-19. And I want to bring a couple of points up regarding COVID-19.
Could you speak a little bit louder? We can't hear you, Mr. Manzanares.
All right, I'll try. So the council took a vote to deny the hero pay for essential workers, pharmacy workers, and I believe it was a lot of misinformation going on saying that it would affect small businesses. like even Tony's Market, when it was very clearly only going to affect the largest businesses like Walmart workers, restaurant workers, and all those pharmacy workers that's been nonstop working during this whole pandemic, even when nobody really knew the gravity of the situation. So I'm really upset at this council for taking that decision and the route that you guys went. I'm not so sure how the situation has affected all of you financially, but out there, where people in the city, 46% also rent in the city, you guys also ignored the eviction moratorium for months on end. When you guys finally decided to step up and put it up to vote, it was already too late. The state had to intervene and do what you guys did not do. For 8 months, you guys could have given the residents of Calexico peace of mind, but you chose to not even put it in the agenda for 8 months. I'm not gonna go on, could list a lot of things. This is for you, Mayor Rossi. This is a notice of intention for recall. So please read it carefully, and you have 7 days to respond, okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jaisel Mendoza.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council. Thank you for allowing me to take a few moments of your time. Sitting here, I wanted to comment on 2 items on the agenda. One, which you already went over, in concerns to the Farm Workers Services Center. I'm the director for the Small Business Development Center here in the Imperial Valley, and I would like to commit to a donation for PPE with what you guys are trying to do for the farm workers. We are also actively trying to assist the community. We have just received about 26 pallets of PPE with another 40 pallets coming in donations of masks, hand sanitizer, surgical and medical equipment that we are in the process of donating to organizations in the Imperial Valley. So I would like to team up with all of you to see how we can assist the city of Calexico. Next, I know you guys haven't gotten to item number 15 in concerns to the Cdbg program, but our center provides services, technical support for businesses. We've been actively walking the streets of Calexico, walking the streets of many of the cities throughout the Imperial County, and I'd like to see how we can partner up and actively work with each other. In the past, I know we had some sort of MOU, and we were working together. I'm not sure what has happened, but I would like to actively start working to do the same with every city and actively get that going with you guys. That's about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more, Gabby?
I have a letter that was submitted. This letter comes with a list of 77 persons listed. So I will begin reading. I'll go through 3 minutes, and then if I don't get done with it, I will go ahead and provide you copies so you can have that for you. Okay. Dear honorable members of the City Council, I write to you this evening in order to communicate an urgent concern regarding the proposal to switch our gas cylinders to purify our city tap water for a liquid chlorine system that would be more expensive and not cost effective. This is being proposed by Public Works and claims that it is for the safety of the operators and the city. History. Our local water plant has been using gas cylinders to purify our tap water for 72 years, and in that time there have been 0 accidents, not in any small part due to the water plant having a state-of-the-art facility. Gas chlorine is 100% pure and keeps that level of purity because it is kept in clean cylinders. There are no mechanical devices needed to increase its level of purity. There is also no maintenance since it is vacuumed by water. Said cylinders are located in an impeccable state-of-the-art facility that cost our city $1.4 million back in 2010. Money well spent at the time, so there is truly no need to upgrade to a different or more costly system such as liquid chlorine. As the old age goes, why fix it if it ain't broke? To that point, back in 2005-2006, the city of Calexico and its engineers did a study to see if it would be feasible or necessary to switch from gas to liquid bleach. In their findings, they came to the conclusion that staying with gas chlorine was the best option. The city of El Centro came to the same conclusion and so uses gas chlorine. Our sister city, Mexicali, with a population of around 2 million people, also uses gas chlorine for their citizens. Downtown Los Angeles uses gas chlorine, as do hundreds of other water plants. Comparison, a 1-ton gas cylinder has a cost of $900 and is 100% pure compared to liquid bleach chlorine that has a cost of $6,650 for 5,000 gallons at 12.5%. In order to compensate for the 1-ton cylinder, one would have to use 16,000 additional gallons, so the cost would be $21,280 more compared to the original cost of $900. This process would repeat itself every 2 to 3 weeks, therefore the cost would be even greater per month. Public Works claims that the upgrade to liquid chlorine is being mandated by the state, but when a call was placed to the state, we were told there is no such mandate. We spoke to Mr. Sean Sturkey from the State of California Water Board, who informed us through an email that it is not a requirement with them nor with Cal OSHA. So we are left wondering who has been told this is a mandate from the state. We do not know. I will provide you the complete letter with the list of the 77 names.
Okay. That's all? Okay. City manager's report?
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, those that join us here today, members of the community. I do want to bring some things up to your attention. We heard today from our County Board of Supervisors, Mr. Escobar, the item that got approved today, yesterday, my apologies, at the Board of Supervisors meeting pertaining to the travel trailers. I do want to share with you that it's a twofold approach. The first step was taken. The second step will now allow us to work with the CBOs that I've had the opportunity to communicate via Zoom, possibly for the past 5 months, as soon as we learned that this item was going to be moving forward. So please expect in the coming meetings a staff report pertaining to this item and how we're going to be now moving forward, that the travel trailers have been passed on to the city. But at the same time, given the limitations that we have, how we're going to partner with community-based organizations to assist the populations that we've discussed today. I want to point out also Ms. Mendoza, who's here with us and provided a public statement today, that we are looking to enhance and solidify our partnership with SBDC. SBDC has resources that are going to benefit businesses here in Calexico. We're going to further that discussion in the coming meetings as well, so we can further share with the community, especially those businesses here from Calexico, as to how it is that we're going to be partnering with them. On Ms. Blanca Morales' presentation, I want to acknowledge and I want to thank her for what she's been doing, along with the other providers here in the city, but specifically the creative strategies that she's put in place to get people vaccinated. I do want to point that out and also say that to complement her presentation, staff is still working with her to create a schedule moving forward that will continue to assist the inoculation here in Calexico. There are 2 items that were requested at the last City Council meeting for my attention, and we're going to talk about those items. The first item pertains to the city commissions. I do want to share with the City Council the following commissions that have met since the month of March 2021. The Arts and Historical Commission has met 3 times. The Parks, Recreation, Beautification, and Senior Services Commission has met 3 times. The Planning Commission has also met 3 times. The Library Board, which we have our staff member here, Ms. Legaspi, who staffs that commission, has met 3 times. So what about those commissions that have not met yet? So just complimenting the comment made by Ms. Aguilar, I do want to share with you that information I received from the Finance Department today shows me that there's going to be an Economic Development and Financial Advisory Commission meeting scheduled for May 11th, and that there is going to be a Measure H meeting on Monday, May 17th. So let's make a note of that, those commissions. And I apologize, she's right. One of them is an advisory board, which is Measure H. The other one is a commission. So those are the dates for those groups. I do want to share with you that the Personnel Commission, the BID, the Business Improvement District, and the Police Advisory Board have not met. And one of the things that we've seen a pattern is that some of the members have expressed some of their concerns related still to COVID-19 as it pertains to having some of the meetings here. When we've engaged in trying to have the meetings also virtually, we were not, because of scheduling matters within the members, we have not met. However, we're going to continue to push, and we're going to continue to try and schedule these meetings. On top of everything that I shared with you, I also want to share that in communication with our city attorney, one of the things that I am recommending and that we're currently working on is making sure that we even take an extra step in providing the tools to our commissioners, given that we have a number of them that for the first time they're serving in a city commission. So we provide additional tools in the form of training so we can assist them and help them as they transition into the life of being a city commissioner. With that said, I wanted to touch on these items. I want to make sure that we're all on the same page, regardless if there's still, like we have further on our agenda, still some appointments that need to be made. That doesn't take away from us moving forward and doing the commission work. One of the other things that I do want to point out is that I've been able to have a couple of meetings in recent months since the commissions began to convene once again with certain commissioners that have asked to meet with myself, and sometimes the elected official, in this case the city council member that appointed that person, has been there. The purpose has been to discuss further projects pertaining to commission work, and at the end of the day we want an open dialogue in which we can share information, and if there are any concerns, any comments they may have, that we work to clear them out. So we still have ways to go to make sure that we get our commissions up and running as we want them to. In the meantime, we're moving forward with what we have. So I do want to acknowledge and thank the staff that is behind the commission work, because remember, this takes away from the time that they do and the assignments that I give them as my department heads, but we also know that we need to carry on the duty of why commissions exist and the appointments that you folks make as our governing body, so they can provide us the recommendations, the feedback that I myself, through my staff, will bring to you. That is the role, as we know, of the commissions, and we'll continue to work. At this point right now, I also want to share with you that talking to our city clerk, one of the things that we're going to begin to do, as it's been done in the past, is every month have the chair or a representative from the commission come to the city council and give a report of the work that they've done. We're going to be doing this on a rotational basis on every month. So also make a note of that's also something that's going to be happening. So with that said, if you have any further comments or questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Madam Mayor, I just want to say that this is long overdue, this commission's meeting and providing feedback. I think, most of the time, what we do is we work on items that had not been shared with the commissions or with the community. So I think this is a step in the right direction, and I'm glad that little by little we are engaging people again. They're coming in. So if we can do that with the commissions, I think every commission is very, very, very important, very instrumental in their own right. So it's about time, you know, whether it's the Economic Development Finance or the bid or every commission, you know, Measure H committee, all of those. So I think, you know, since we're talking about budgets, since we're talking about expenditures, we're talking about projects, so it is important that we get the feedback. So please do make it happen, and the sooner the better. So thank you.
Thank you.
Continuing on my report, there was a second item that was requested by council, and that pertained to our ambulance service. So at this time, I want to call up Chief Diego Favila so he can provide further detail on this request that was made.
All right, once again, thank you for having me up here today. As you guys are aware, the City of Calexico Fire Department has been working diligently excuse me, towards meeting the medical needs and the health care of the citizens of Calexico, right? Despite all of our obstacles that have been thrown in our path, we're continuing to offer and provide the essential services needed to our public and our visitors of this great city of Calexico. So one of the requests was in regards to the ambulance fleet. This is kind of just a follow-up of our last meeting. I had mentioned to you that the city owns the 2 ambulances, one which is unrepairable, or imagine it's not unrepairable, it's financially not feasible to repair them just because of the status of the age and the status of that ambulance. The other one was in the shop, and we said that was getting a new motor and the transmission that was under warranty. That work is still being performed. Unfortunately, they had some issues with parts coming in because of COVID is what they're saying. So we're waiting on that. Should be next week. I'm pleased to announce that today, 2 of our representatives from the fire department find themselves in Houston, Texas, where the ambulance was at, and they're going to be making the inspection and bringing down the ambulance that was approved at our last city council through the bar. The reason we sent somebody up there to pick it is obviously we want to do the first inspection on it, but it also it's a savings about $5,000 to versus having them do the freight and transfer over here. So one of the other questions was on the rates that we're charging. So if you guys remember back in June of 2018, we went through this long process of a rate study for our ambulance service, right? It was a great eye-opener that many of us really kind of knew the outcome of it, because before June 2018, our rate studies were from the late 80s. So the stuff that we were charging was no longer feasible, and it didn't meet the demands of what we were actually spending. I'm sorry. So what we did is we did the rate study, and we came up with some new rates. And when I started here in 2016, we were making $499,000, so $500,000 in 2016. I'm glad to say that today, as of 2020, we're making about $1.3 million since our rate change. Obviously, that increases with the call volume. The more call volume you have, the more transport you have to do, and more insurances get charged for the services. The other topic that was brought up was to see the ability or the feasibility of making either a purchase or a lease on a new ambulance for the citizens. And I was able to get some of those. These are ballpark numbers, and these were quotes as of last year, December of last year. When speaking to the company, they were stating that they should be pretty similar to it. Here it is right here. So you're looking for a brand new unit, serviced, outfitted, you're looking at about $197,000 for one brand new unit. At this point, it would be The demand would be for 2 ambulances to ensure that we have a robust ambulance service for the citizens of Calexico. Like I mentioned, we don't have the hospital, we don't have the after-hour clinics. So unfortunately, or fortunately for you, our ambulance is your hospital that we have in Calexico. So one of the options is to purchase it at that price, or we could also, the other option is to lease the ambulance. And when you're looking at leasing options, you're looking about $49,000 or $39,000 a year for a 5-year lease on something like that, which sounds more reasonable and sounds a little bit more affordable. So if you go back to our rates, plus the money that we're receiving, you're looking about half a month or up a month of ambulance calls will pay for that lease program right there. So those were the 3 topics, the 3 items that we wanted answered. I hope I answered them for you as briefly as I can. We won't have a presentation, but just a quick summary of what is happening. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Gracias.
That concludes my report, Madam Mayor. As always, we'll do our best with addressing some of the items that get raised, so we can keep some of these topics that come to light that are important for the community ongoing, right? Because we want to make sure that we don't lose track of things. So with that said, Madam Mayor, that concludes my city manager report.
Thank you. Okay. City Council comments and reports of meetings attended. Mrs. Romo?
Thank you, Madam. Congratulations to Mexico and to all Mexicans for this day, 5 de Mayo, Batalla de Puebla. And Madam Mayor, I participated in cleaning program in the city of Calexico, an event promoted by Director IID Javier Gonzalez. I got the Kennedy Gardens Park, and I am very grateful because to the people who were with me in cleaning in the park. Thank you so much. Supervisor Escobar estuvo barriendo mucho. Thank you, Supervisor. El siguiente punto lo voy a decir en español. Hay padres de familia que se acercaron a mí, creo que bastantes, y tengo algunos correos electrónicos donde me están pidiendo, Mayor, que solicite a todos ustedes, al Honorable Cabildo, dar un reconocimiento por la trayectoria de los 26 años de labor pública en favor de la niñez, del deporte, y también porque tiene cuatro parques que adoptó la señora Carmen Estrada Zúñiga, y que por cierto uno de los parques lleva su nombre. Yo creo, como en una ocasión usted lo dijo, Mayor, es muy importante reconocer a las personas, ahorita más en esta época, y pues sea la persona que sea, que haya tenido aquí, ¿verdad?, una actividad loable y sobre todo gratuita en favor de la gente, de las personas mayores o los niños. Y lo mismo lo hice la junta pasada, solicité a ustedes y al administrador dar un reconocimiento por todo el servicio que ha prestado gratuitamente la clínica ortopédica de Calexico, pero ya no supe nada. Han atendido a miles y miles de personas. Yo creo que lo vamos a dejar para la próxima, ¿verdad? Muy bien. That's it. Thank you so much.
Councilman Garcia?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I did also attend the community cleanup event. It was very lively. It was really good to see lots of people come out, whether they were dignitaries, but I think most of the people that were there were just the community. So it was very encouraging to see, just like today, we are able to see some of the community members here in attendance. So it's part of the reality, what we have been talking about, the new reality. And I think, we're taking the steps in the right direction. So thank you to Mr. Javier, for organizing that event. Then also, I want to take time to congratulate, of course, with the proclamation that we had earlier for the police officers. Next week, celebrating them for their work that they have done and they continue to do. Thank you for that. Also, the firefighters, National Firefighters Day. So I want to congratulate all of them because they do an outstanding job. So that also, and last but not least, I want to recognize our very own Ms. Gabby Garcia for National Municipal Clerks Week. So, Gabby, this is for you. For keeping everybody in check. Make sure that there's no Brown Act violation. So, thank you. And with that, I'll end my report. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Pro Tem, Mr. Moreno.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Also echo the same sentiments to your statements. The fire department, police department, and also Garcia, congratulations. A couple of things. So I attended the San Diego State University. They had the Arbor Day proclamation there in front of the lawn. Dr. Gregorio Ponce invited us, so I was representative of the government here, and we did solidify that proclamation we had that same week, and presented Dr. Ponce with the proclamation signed by our mayor, Rosie Arreola Fernandez. Present were also Luke Hamdi and Mr. Javier Gonzalez, who we all know was instrumental in putting all this thing together, clean up and everything else in Calexico. Also, what I did a couple weeks ago, we all remember Chief Gonzalo Gerardo was able to secure those speed humps, and then we identified a couple of streets here in Calexico. For many years, it's been a problem, right? Especially down in Kennedy Gardens, people crossing over, cut across Zapata. So thank you, Chief Gerardo, for that. So what I did, I personally walked that street on Robert Kennedy, I believe, and Espinosa, and I did talk to some of the neighbors. So what we're going to do in the near future, we're going to go down there, and there's a process in place by the Public Works that has to initiate before we put those speed humps in. And just to contrasting those from the speed bumps, they're a little bit different. Speed bumps, when itself, bring more liability and as far as more studies. So speed humps, a new business model that municipalities like us were able to address this issue in a short term and immediately. So thank you, Chief Fernando, for addressing that. So I am going to tell you that we are gathering up the troops there, the citizens who are very excited because those speed humps are finally, over the decades, are going to go there and take care of the problem. So thank you again. And so that's where I'm looking forward to go back to the citizens there and how we can put those speed bumps there. Thank you. That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Ureña.
Thank you, Mayor Fernandez. I don't have any reports today, but because Ms. Romo brought up some proclamations in her wish list, I only have one request, a proclamation in my wish list, which is next month is going to be June Pride Month, Pride Month for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer Americans and people around the world. It would be very nice if for the first time in history, a municipality in the Imperial County recognized those people this upcoming June, especially in an election that saw homophobic attacks, not just against myself, but the Mayor Pro Tem as well, unfortunately. It would be very nice if this upcoming June or next month, we have a proclamation of that nature. Otherwise, Feliz 5 de Mayo, Día de la Batalla de Puebla, and I thank you for your time.
Okay. My report. Thank you, Mr. Ureña. We met on April 26th, Pro Tem Moreno and myself with the Mayor, Lupita Mora from Mexicali, and of course, as sister cities, we're going to continue to work together. I also, along with Mr. Moreno, we attended for the Farm Workers Resource Center. I also was with them and tour the place. I attended, along also with Pro Tem Mayor, introduction meeting with Copo Corporation manager, and it was it was a good meeting. They plan to extend their services here, which is, it's good for business for Calexico. We also attended for Saturday with Heffernan had a forum regarding trying to open up a clinic here in Calexico. It was a quite interesting forum, and I was glad that we had local attendings there. Also, local doctors that are very much interested in participating. And this is just the beginning. I guess they're going to be holding more forums to get input from the community. Had our COVID update meeting, which is once a week. Attended the ICTC updates on transportation. You know, they gave us updates on how what they plan to wind 98, and also how it's going with Imperial in El Centro, extending in Imperial down to how they're doing with the bridge, and other information that was provided to us. Again, we attended yesterday the firefighters, which was the day we took them a cake, which it's a good thing. And I also would like to recognize something that we did not bring up the other day, is that we have a former mayor, Mr. Joseph Joe Acuña. This is a picture of him that his son, Joe Acuña, kindly brought to us.
Oh, yeah.
Put up here. So I really want to thank the family, especially Joe Acuña, for going out of his way and bringing Mr. Joe Acuña's picture. And again, I want to thank the police department and the fire department for such good work they're doing in our community. Thank you. And that's my report. Thank you. Now going to consent agenda. 12 warrants for March 27, 2021 to April 9, 2021, and city salaries from March 27, 2021 to April 9, 2021. 13 warrants from April 10, 2021 to April 23, 2021, and city salary from April 10, 2021 to April 23, 2021.
And like you rightfully mentioned, Madam Mayor, when the agenda actually got approved, at this point right now, we're only considering 12 and 13.
Yes.
Motion to approve 12 and 13?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Councilmember Garcia?
Aye.
Councilmember Romo?
Aye.
Councilmember Ureña?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moreno?
Aye.
Mayor Arreola Fernandez?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay. Discussion and potential action items. 14, authorize the city manager to sign a 2-year agreement with SED, Seniors Community Service Employment Program, SEP.
So, Madam Mayor, I think everybody kind of knows the way I present the items, but this one I want to do it a little different. 2 weeks ago, I made a visit to the Recreation Department on 707 Dual, and I spoke to the department head. We had a brief discussion on city business, and as I was leaving, the rest of the staff, which is at the office, pulled me aside and told me, Mr. Figueroa, there's some items that I want to talk to you about. I'm like, well, absolutely, how can I help you? Well, we have some issues here with our building that we need to address, and we discussed it, and we talked about it. But the main point they pulled me aside was they wanted to talk about this item. And they told me the SER program does so much for our elderly community in Calexico that I would encourage you and the city council to bring this item for consideration and approval. And it's not typical that I get that type of feedback when that city employees specifically request like an actual item that comes before the city council. In my past employment, I had the opportunity to work with SED. And on this council, we have a council member that also has a close tie as it pertains to programs like this one. And the benefit that it brings to our community is immense. And it's important. We know Calexico, we have a lot of folks 65 and older that go to the dances at the community center.
That's right.
That participate in all these events that we put together. So this is going to be another enhancement, another opportunity that we give them. And this one is unique because we provide them some work experience through the SER senior program. So with that said, I did want to point that out because sometimes it's also very, very important that I convey these types of anecdotal things that happen. So with that said, I mean, I would want to stop there because I know Councilman Garcia can elaborate more than I can on this. So, Councilman, if you wish to add anything that I may have missed.
You know what, I think, going back to, and I'm sorry, I'm going to get in my soapbox, but, when it comes to workforce and all those items, that is really a passion of mine, and not just because of that's what I do, but also identifying that the population, especially that 50 plus, the mature population. It's not, it has evolved from older population, senior citizens, mature population. So I think this is great. They do a wonderful job. This organization does a wonderful job of providing these opportunities to, this age group, this population. And as we have seen, throughout the years, that people are coming back, whether it's because they want to go back to the workforce, because they have a need, or because they want to come back and share their experience. And I think there are different business models that use this wisdom and this wealth of knowledge that they have, whether it's to mentor someone else or for them to come back and help. I think this is great. I mean, I'm happy to see this. I'm happy to really see that we're getting involved. And I think we should need to go above and beyond this, because this is a great opportunity for us to capitalize on this availability of talent. So again, thank you for that. And I know the county, it's working on some things with the scholarships, with, you didn't call it the scholarships, but fellowships, thank you. Fellowships. So I would like to see some type of, program like that. Maybe not, we don't have the financial incentive, but we do have a wealth of talent. And I'm sorry that I'm kind of like deviating, but I think this is the perfect opportunity also to discuss this type of program, whether it's the mature population or the youth. I think we saw earlier with the explorers that they also wanted to get involved in the community. They also want to contribute. So if we can also create, and I think there's a lot of need for contribution from our community to do what we do, to provide the services. So let's think, big picture, specific goals, and mimic some of the models that exist. And I'll be more than happy to really go on a deep dive and make sure that we create some robust programs that are inclusive of our youth, our adults, and our adult population, the mature population. So I'm really excited, and I'm happy to move this item for approval. So thank you for bringing this up.
I'll second that motion. I'll second with a quick suggestion. When you're creating your fellowship, there's probably two places that you can probably reach out to. The educational institutions, SDSU, UCSD, IVC, or maybe we can establish some kind of loan program where they get hired and pay back some kind of loan, just to get them on the track to employment.
And not so much a fellowship. Let me just get that clear. This was just, I was just using that model that the county is doing, but maybe a volunteer program. Because right now, as we stand, right, I don't think we have that capital. We don't have those resources. But judging from what I've seen, with for example, Ms. Morales' clinics, she had a large number of volunteers. And I know that they were there, every Friday and the day before setting up. And they were just happy to be there. So I think we can we can really take that and create this program, these volunteer programs, these mentorship programs, not so much of a fellowship, but let me just make that clear, because that involves, and of course, if we're able to get into some funding, that would be great. But for now, at least just to capitalize on the, willingness and the talent that we have, from our community, I think that will be great, and that will be of great help to, our city.
Madam Mayor, you want to?
Yes, Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman.
go ahead, sir.
Just very quickly, because you touched upon the fellowship program for the County of Imperial. What we approved is 10 fellowships. And I may be leaving out some of the details, so I apologize for the details. This was approved roughly a month ago. I believe the way it was approved is 2 fellows per district. And it is a scholarship program where we, half of the scholarship, once they're approved into the program, is given their senior year in college. The other half is given after their 1-year anniversary upon successful review of their work assignment within that year. It's an 18-month limited term employment with the County of Imperial. The idea is to foster college graduates to come back to Imperial County. As we all know, it's very hard to get college graduates back to the valley because there's a limited amount of jobs, especially if you're a college graduate, you've got student loans. I mean, it's very challenging for you to make any money when you're making $15 an hour, which is minimum wage. Actually, technically, it's less here in Imperial County. So what we're trying to do is give them a leg up, foster their work abilities, their resume, build up their resume, and obviously give them a limited term because our funding is very limited as well. But you're giving them an opportunity for an 18-month period to pad their resume, giving them real-world experience, and obviously trying to get them back and hook them up with a full-time job here in Imperial County, and it gives them time to hopefully be able to hook up, be it with the county or with another private or governmental institution within Imperial County. Again, it's a challenge because, again, your funds are limited as well, but again, there's always ways for you to kind of work some magic because it can also be a limited term type of employment, and then they have the experience and they can hook on with another city opportunity or a non-government, which is really what we're trying to do, non-government opportunity down the road with the city of Calexico or the county of Imperial. But just in a nutshell, I just wanted to, because you mentioned the fellowship program, completely for it. I think it's a great way for us to foster college graduates to come back to our county, to our city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Okay.
And Mr. Garcia made a motion?
Yes,
It was seconded by Mr. Uray.
Councilmember Garcia?
Aye.
Councilmember Romo?
Aye.
Councilmember Ureña?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moreno?
Aye.
Mayor Arola Fernandez?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay. Moving on to item 15, a resolution approving an application for funding and the executive of a grant agreement and any amendments thereto from the 2020 Community Development Block Grant Program, Coronavirus Response Round 2 and 3, Cdbg-CV2 and CV3, NOFA, dated December 18, 2020.
Okay, so back in December, the state of California issued the notice of funding availability for rounds 2 and 3 of the coronavirus support monies through the Cdbg program. And I want to point out the importance of the Cdbg program. Whenever the guidelines and the monies for the city of Calexico and all the cities in California come from the federal relief package, it's going to be through Cdbg. One of the biggest things here that I do want to point out, and I take some pride in it, not only for me, but for my staff, is that the city right now were eligible under the Cdbg program to go after funding and grant opportunities. Not every city is, by the way. We are. So with that said, if you guys recall back last year, we actually brought the round one opportunity to City Council. We went through the process, and there were north of $150,000 that were part of round one for Calexico. Well, long story short, it turns out that last Friday, I received the award letter for round one. So it took a while, to say the least, right? But we got it. So those monies are going to be put to use for what we applied for. So now, moving forward and fast-tracking things, like I said at the last City Council meeting, for some weeks now, the planning unit and myself have been working on going back to some of the requests that this City Council has made over the past 5 months in terms of some of the priorities that you have outlined for me as city manager and my team. So what we did is that we did a comparison analysis. I have those items listed in my office, and we did a comparison analysis with the eligible activities that the NOFA from December 18th allowed. So doing a comparison analysis, I was able to match some items. So with that said, for those that are watching us, those that are here with us, what I did is that on page 2 of the staff report, I identified the 2 activities that we can go after under this NOFA, and that's community development and economic development. The NOFA is very clear as to what we can go after. And there's obviously, for those 2 activities, there are different things that fall. So, based on what I have on record from my city council, one of the things that I identified was what I have titled Public Health and Sanitation Infrastructure. One of the things that, and I'm going to give some examples, pressure washers. Currently, right now, the city of Calexico only has 1 pressure washer. That pressure washer is used by our utility services coordinator that falls under the Public Works Department, and we use that pressure washer to go and clean all the bus stops in the city. The reason you see them nice and shiny with no graffiti painted is because the utility services coordinator and staff maintain them on a weekly basis. The pressure washer goes there. But what have we encountered? We have encountered that we also have a need for a pressure washer machine for downtown.
Yeah.
But we don't have another one. So we already have the existing one on schedule every week to be used. This will allow us not only to focus on downtown by acquiring not 1, but 2 pressure washers, so we can also have them in inventory to use for other public events. We just talked about one thing that senior citizens are going to benefit from through the SARE program. Once we begin to have these activities, outdoors, even inside, some of these drive-thrus that now moving forward are always going to be on our radar, just given how the pandemic has changed our activities. Well, guess what? All these things are going to come to light. Wash stations. One of the things that I also included based on what's allowed is some upper end type of COVID-19 precautionary equipment. As today, for the first time, we allowed some of the public to come in. We have a monitor now as you enter City Hall that takes your temperature. But we know that things eventually run their life. And City Hall is not the only public facility where people are going to come in. Library, recreation, even public works. Even to some extent also, people go into my police station here in the city. They go and conduct business. So we need to be properly equipped, and this takes care of this. Under community development, there is another eligible activity, and that is community facilities. One of the things that was made very clear to me as part of the visits that we've done to the city departments, which we have not finished, we still have some to go, we're covering as many as we can between myself and the city council, obviously, is something that's obvious, something that we need to address immediately, that's being long overdue, and those are some other repairs to Fire Station 2 on the west side of Calexico. So I got my fire chief to give me a detailed list of the improvements that are needed. And I do want to point out something. It's not the only public facility that needs some improvements in the city. I want to make that clear. However, under this NOFA, it specifically identified fire stations as the public facilities that we could use this money on. I want to make that clear. And as I talked also to the rest of my staff, as it pertains to other public facilities, depending on the department, this city council has freed up some of the impact fee money that we can use to address those needs. So with that said,
Station 2, no?
yes, ma'am, yes, that is correct, Ms. Romo. Fire Station 2 on the west side of town. So with that said, I think us that have been in there can agree that it's in dire need for our own people, for our own emergency service responders that we have, our firefighters there. So the money that has been allotted here is money that's based on an analysis, a cost analysis that was performed by our fire chief that I vetted, and that I included other items that will come up in order to bring that project to fruition. Last but not least, the last item is economic development. And where is my vision, also based on the feedback that I received, is business assistance. Assisting our micro and small businesses in Calexico. And as we know, the first time around, on the first relief money that we got from the federal government, we issued the loan program. The monies went like this. By the time people were coming in with their application, the monies were long gone. So we know there's a need, and as you can see, there are $300,000 set aside for that. And I do want to mention something, and this was brought up also by SBDC Representative Ms. Mendoza, who's still with us in the audience, and I thank her for that. There is also money that's that will come down from the county, from SBDC to assist businesses. But with all due respect, it's not enough. It's not enough, and some of those monies are tied to specific businesses. What I want to do is open it up for Calexico businesses in general. So one of the opportunities that I like to call with some of these grants is that we can take a percentage, in this case 12%, and apply it to operational costs. So the staff time that gets put into some of these activities that I just referenced, it's going to alleviate the general fund as it pertains to salaries in the amount of $80,892. I do want to emphasize this is not the solution to all the issues that we have, even the ones prior to COVID-19, on top of that what we've encountered with COVID-19, but it certainly is going to alleviate some of those things that are concerning. With that said, what I'm asking today is for a resolution to be considered so I can use that resolution and submit it as the guidelines require to HCD. One of the things that I do want to point out is that HCD is very particular with how the resolution reads. I do want to point out that we contacted HCD staff. I showed them the proposed resolution, the final version, and they were okay with it. So with that said, we're not going to encounter any delays on the already lengthy process to get this funded. So with that said, I'll be happy to answer any comments or questions you may have.
Miguel, I have only one question. Congratulations, very good resolution, but I need, when we are going to fix the bathrooms on the First Street?
That's a very good question, Councilwoman Romo. We know that's also been identified as something that needs to get done. What I can share with you is that aside, for example, of opportunities that surface, what I always look into is what can we pay for from what the rules allow us to when it comes to some of these monies, right? But besides that, there are opportunities that I'm continuing to look into that can address that need for downtown. And I hope those come sooner than later. And as those things materialize, I'll be coming back and providing you updates on it. I know it's a pressing need. I feel your concern for it.
Thank you. I have a motion to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second the motion.
Councilmember Garcia?
Aye.
Councilmember Romo?
Aye.
Councilmember Ureña?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moreno?
Aye.
Mayor Arola Fernandez?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, now to item 16, support for California Senate Bill 2.
At this point, Madam Mayor, this item came at the request of Councilman Ureña, and it was seconded by Councilwoman Romo. As a result of that, I would please want to pass on the microphone to Councilman Ureña so he can share with us a little as to what prompted for this item to come.
Sure. As you well know, not just across the nation, but also in our state, historically across decades, there has been abuse of force at the hands of law enforcement towards certain communities in a very discriminatory fashion, specifically the African American, Latino, low-income communities across our state and our nation. We're at a point in time and history where decisions are being made at a statewide level as well as a nationwide level about how we're going to increase police accountability to preserve community safety and preserve the dignity of the profession that is law enforcement. Senate Bill number 2 is pretty simple. What it would do is it would create a licensing program at a state level, kind of like the same way that our doctors or paramedics or accountants are certified and licensed and are able to be decertified and delicensed in the case of violations or things of that nature. The same thing would be established for police officers on a statewide level. There would be a commission that is created at a statewide level that would give licenses to police officers and have the authority to take away those licenses if there is an instance of police violence, abuse of force, bribery, corruption, things of that nature. It makes it easier for us to get a police officer that is acting outside of the color of the law off the streets. Current law as it reads actually makes it very difficult, as we've seen throughout many cases in the decades, to get to that accountability, to get to justice. This would create a licensing scheme at a statewide level for police officers.
Madam Mayor, on that, for this item, Chief Gerardo requested to speak, so at this point I want to bring him up.
I think to Mrs. Romo also.
No, that's okay, Mr. Gerardo. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Honorable City Council, people watching. So Senate Bill 2 is a Senate bill that came as a result of the failed attempt of Senate Bill 731, which was the Bradford, by Senator Bradford, was brought up back in August, and it died. It didn't proceed. As a chief of police, I belong to the California Police Chiefs Association, and we were against this bill, but not against all the bill. What we are against is the fact of how this was going to be done. How was this going to be done? This bill, as a city council, just like as a police chief, it's a nonpartisan position. So I can't go with Democrats or Republicans or independents or whatever. But I got to take my stance as a chief. And my stance as a chief right now is that through the California Police Officers Standards of Training, we go through a lot to become police officers. And having worked cases, specifically one that I worked back in 1995, I believe, where a doctor by the name of Warren, Dr. Lemons, he, and I can say this because this is all facts, this is all, it's open and public record. He killed a person in a hotel room using the authority that he had. I was an investigator at the time, a sergeant in charge of investigations, and I was surprised. And actually, I didn't understand how doctors, all they have to do is go to medical, it's not all, it's a lot, but they go to get their 4-year degree, then they go become a doctor, and it stops there, and they get licensed. This doctor had a lot of issues in the medical field, and he never got his license suspended. As a police officer, when we get hired, we go through an oral board. Then they start your background. Then we do a polygraph exam. Then we do a psychological exam. Then we do another oral. Then we do a medical exam. And then you have your chief's oral. After that, if you make it, and of course you pass the academy, you come back and you go through a 16-week minimum field training officers course where you get trained. If a police officer, we have policy. So I have the policy that we have in Calexico, and it's on the city website. And if you guys want to look at the policy when it comes to conduct, it's section 322, and it goes to the general standards of conduct of police officers. And if you guys want a copy, I can email it to you guys. It's in English and only in English. We don't have it in Spanish or Chinese or anything like that, but it can be transcribed, interpreted. But it's very strict, the policy. Police officers get fired if you're convicted of a felony, if you're convicted of violating somebody's civil rights, if you get proven wrong, you're gone. Your career's toast. You cannot longer be a police officer. So I'm actually against Senate Bill 2 because of the language on how it's going to be done. I don't mind decertification of police officers and licensing police officers, but it's who's going to be on the board. And presently looking at who is going to be on the board, it's going to be a government-appointed board. So it's at the discretion of the governor. So if you have a governor that doesn't like law enforcement in general, he's going to appoint a board that doesn't like law enforcement. And they're going to decertify people that they think should be decertified. That's the way I read it. Through the International Association of Chiefs of Police, and it also goes to qualified immunity. Qualified immunity is not something that should be taken lightly. And this is what happened is because the language is not clear on Senate Bill 2. I mean, it's a very, I think it's a knee-jerk reaction to what happened and is happening or happened in the nation. And let me tell you this before I start this. George Floyd's incident, I was one of the police chiefs that I still get criticized by former police officers or former law enforcement people for standing alongside the movement because we did not condone, and I made a speech there, I did not condone the actions that were done that day. And I'll go on record again saying I did not condone what happened that day. As a police officer for 30 years, I've gone into situations where we have to do stuff, and that's one of the things you don't do. You don't put your knee on somebody for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Being that said, the key points on qualified immunity, is that, unlike, and this is off the International Association of Chiefs of Police, is this. Unlike elected officials, judges, and prosecutors, police officers do not have absolute immunity, and they can be held liable when they knowingly violate a clearly established constitutional rights. So if I violate somebody's Fourth Amendment right, Fifth Amendment right, 14th Amendment right, guess what happens to me? They prove me wrong, I get fired, and I go to jail. Well, the least amount for me would be to get fired. I'd be worried about going to jail. I mean, because you get fired, you can get a job as long as you have a trade or know what to do. Another thing is qualified immunity only applies when the constitutional right was not clear at the time of the officer acted. So an officer, you gotta have intention. You gotta willingly know you're doing something wrong. And that's the qualified immunity, that's when it pertains to that. It is unfair to hold an officer liable for violating a right that a reasonable officer could not have known existed. The protection is essential because it ensures that the officer's good faith actions based on their understanding of the law at the time of the action will not later be found to be unconstitutional. And we go back again to that. I mean, we get to a call, we get into a shooting, something that we don't want to do because we get scarred for life, PTSD. You know, nobody wants to kill somebody. I mean, that's the last thing we want to do. And you take away the qualified immunity, that means that they could come and sue me as the officer. And then they sue the sergeant that was working that day because I was a supervisor. Then they sue the lieutenant because the lieutenant oversees them. Then they come and sue the police chief. Then they go after my city manager. And ultimately, they can go after you guys too. That's the way I read it when it comes to qualified immunity. They're going to go after everybody. This is California. You're going to get sued. All of you guys up there will get sued along with me. And then it's personal. It's not as an entity. It's a personal thing. The language hasn't been cleared up. That's why I think it's rash for them to do this. The protection is essential because it ensures that the officer's good faith actions based on their understanding of the law at the time of their action will not later be found to be unconstitutional. Qualified immunity does not provide protection of an officer from charges of criminal negligence. Remember that, criminal negligence. We already have somebody who got convicted on the East Coast. So he got convicted. Qualified immunity does not provide civil liability protections for an officer who knowingly violated constitutional rights. So if I knowingly violate somebody's constitutional rights, guys, I'm going to pay for it. It's my problem. I own up to it. If qualified immunity is eliminated, officers will be less likely to initiate encounters with community members because of the potential for personal liability. They're going to be afraid to do their jobs. They're not going to want to stop. If you call that somebody's suspicious in front of your house, first thing that goes to the officer's mind is, am I going to get sued? What's going to happen with me? Am I going to get in trouble? Am I going to get fired? Are they going to come after me because I'm afraid to do my job? One of the biggest things that we're seeing right now is that a lot of police officers that are close to retirement or they've been vested, they spent 15 years or 20 years and they're still young, they are retiring. They are leaving the job. You're losing a lot of people with experience. I had sent out, I don't know if you were the council that I sent it to, I said, what's going to happen when we run out of cops? I don't know if I ever sent it to you, it was a previous council. It was a really good article. It says, what's going to happen when we run out of cops? And by some of these actions, it looks like we're getting to the point. New York City lost about 1,000 officers. And I mean, they have 10,000, 15,000 man police force. 1,000 doesn't seem like much for New York, but it's a lot. You know, another thing is, all government employees are protected. All of us, you know, everybody that works for government. Employees are protected by qualified immunity, not just law enforcement. This includes teachers, social workers, and mental health clinicians. So once they do us, are they going to go and do the same thing with the firefighters? If the firefighters, paramedics go and try to save someone, and they can't save someone because the person was, you know, in an accident, and you couldn't save them, the family going to sue the fire department? If the fire department goes out to roll to a fire and they can't save the house, the people are not going to want to sue the fire department. So I think this is going to open up a Pandora's box if the language is not there. As a police chief, I don't want corrupt officers. As a police chief, I don't want people that get away with wrongful use of force. We will do what we have to do to make things right. But I think by doing this and having our state government do this without really looking into the effects, the long-term effects, I think as a council, I implore that you guys don't do this, because you're going to send the wrong message to a police department in a community that in reality we don't have a problem, knock on wood, we don't have a problem with this stuff. The nation may be facing it, and I don't know if you guys notice it. I mean, not, and like I said, I don't want to jinx ourselves, but most of these problems are in the East Coast. Is it because you can't blame cultural diversity because they're very diverse in the East Coast? I think it has to do with training. And that's one of the vital parts, I think, that happens in policing right now is as soon as our budgets get lean and our budgets get short, the first thing that I hate and I don't like is we all talk in the whole Southern, that's one of the biggest points we do when we meet through Zoom now, is that our first budget item that gets cut is our training budget. Mr. Moreno, you were in law enforcement. What is the first budget they cut? Training. Training, training, training. One of the things that I'm trying to bring together, and that was something I was going to mention last meeting, but I had to leave, family emergency, was I met with the mental health board, and I am working with them to try to put a class together. We did our mandated, the state of California, we had till January 1st of this year to take an 8-hour extended course on de-escalation and crisis intervention. My department, everybody that was sworn, and my dispatchers did it by November 1st, 2020, everybody had taken that class, including myself. So my whole thing is this, we in Imperial County are doing more because, you know, fortunately on this we can say we're small, so we can do this type of training better because we don't have to do 10,000 officers. We can just do what we have. I am working with the mental health, and that's why I had Mr. Urena say, hey, your dad was supposed to call me because out of that meeting, we started dialoguing on how we want to do an extended course, which we already have approved through post. Lieutenant Serrano already had worked on it. We have it approved to post. It's a 24-hour course for officer on mental health crisis and how to deal with de-escalation, how to make ourselves better when we go to these type of calls to limit the liability, which it all comes to this. Not only mental health, but it comes out to somebody that's under the influence of drugs, how to de-escalate without having to use force. So again, I ask you, I mean, I don't think SB2 should be endorsed by this council. It sends a wrong message. Plus, I think the language on this is not clear enough for us to take a stand on SB2. Thank you.
Okay. Mrs. Romo?
Yes, I have a question for Mr. Urena.
Sí.
Will the support letter affect the Calexico police? The letter?
What do you mean?
The bill number 2?
Will it affect Calexico Police? It will affect the whole state. Todos.
No, but since you put it on, is there, I mean, why did you agree with Mr. Urena?
For this bill, and in my opinion, in this moment, the police and some state in the United States have used their force and killed people. It's very complicated in this moment. But Calexico, I understand, is different, no? Mr. Urena only need support one letter for this bill, Mr. Urena. That's it.
Yes, that is correct. And you know, we have to come back to police brutality, and this is some you know, when you're looking about the statistics about where police brutality is happening in our region. I've been tracking instances of police brutality for about 5 years, and most of them, in fact, have been in El Centro and Imperial. Calexico Police Department itself hasn't had that many incidents of that kind of force, especially out in the media. It's been concentrated in El Centro, Imperial, and the California Highway Patrol. Nonetheless, this is completely separate. We would be endorsing a bill to create a licensing program and facilitate decertification in the instance of police brutality. And that would affect the whole state.
Well, I will ask a question. You're the only one, because of you, you're asking the board to support you and writing a letter. You know, we have not received any letter from any assemblyman, congressman, or even supervisors, so I'm a little lost in this. I mean, you're the one that's proposing for the board to write this,
Correct. And if you would like, we could table this item, and at the next meeting, I can have a letter from Assemblyman Eduardo
No, it's okay.
Garcia.
We'll vote on it.
Madam Mayor, can I
no
say
problem.
something, if I may?
Okay.
If I may?
Yeah.
It's
Are you-
possible, excuse me, it's possible to hear the commissioners? When do you have your first meeting, the commissioner? I like to hear the commissioners.
So the commissioners haven't been able to, at least 3 of my commissioners have not been able to meet. I have one commissioner that is not computer savvy, and he does not have a computer. The other one, they have one computer and he uses it for his 2 or 3 grandkids for school, and he can't do it after hours. The other commissioner can't do it during working hours. So that's why we haven't been able to have a meeting. I know that I can have Mr. Arvizu, who's a young kid, he's got a computer, he knows how to do it, and I'm pretty sure Mr. Castro can help him. But the other 3, when we reach out to them and says we can't meet, we want to meet in person, but we don't want to meet with the COVID restrictions. So I'm looking at, if they lift the restrictions in June, we'll probably end up having our first meeting. And since I'm up here, one of the things that I want to say, Mr. Dena, is that the amount of law enforcement contacts that we have as a police officers, and I wish I would have brought those numbers because I don't want to get into that, into the police contacts, but the whole countywide, it's a lot. We encounter a lot of people. And the stuff that happened in El Centro was years ago. The stuff that happened in Imperial was years ago. And so some of the stuff is that the training evolves, it changes every month. Every month, the police officer standards and training will send us updates on training. Like this year, we got rid of the carotid restraint. It didn't go from, you guys need more training, you're gonna do it. It went just straight out, it's done. You know, that you gotta get rid of that. And we got rid of it. That thing, as soon as they enacted that, we got rid of it. There was no resistance, as we didn't write letters as police chief saying, hey, we need it, it's another 2. We said, hey, yeah, we understand. Lack of training, if you don't train on that, you shouldn't use it. And so, we decided, believe me, we do not want to hurt people. That's not our job, is to hurt people. Police chiefs do not want to be going to city councils, to the community, having to go up in the front of the media saying, yes, we are under investigation. Yes, we did this. Yes, we did that. I lived it in 2014, 2015. It's a very, you're never mentally prepared to something like that to happen to your department. And as a chief, you're even worse. And as your supervisors that have been here, we cannot, as a police officer, you cannot do that. SB2 to me it's honestly, sir, I look at it and it's a very partisan vote, because if it's good for the whole state, you would have both 3 sides of the aisle be pushing this. This is not a very detailed Senate bill. I think this Senate bill still needs some work to do. I know that the California Police Association, the International Association of Police Officers Research, and PORAC, and the other CPOA from the state is working. We have our lobbyists working with these senators and assembly people to come up with something that that it works for everybody. Licensing, like I said, you do something wrong, you get decertified. You're done. You won't get hired anywhere. You go to jail, you're not going to hire anywhere. Our policy says you're not going to get hired. So I know what's happening. It's happened in the past, but we cannot paint everybody with the same brush. I look at people, and I'm not going to say, well, council member. Look what happened, recently. Are people going to say that all council members are corrupt? No. And that's a word that I honestly hate, and I'll say hate the word corruption, because it's used so vaguely. Just use sporadic. Use it all the time. People say, oh, that's racist. Oh, you're racist. I hear my kids say that, and I always tell them, stop saying that. What racist thing did he say? Oh, no, it's just that. I said, stop using that word. You don't know what racist is. Don't use it. So this is the thing is that it's pushing people to think that law enforcement, Mr. Moreno, you said that, the Latino community and the black community. Well, here in Calexico, we have nothing but Latinos. And, so if we do use of force, it's gonna be a Latino use of force. And when you get your stats, and we look at our stats, it says Latino. We got the RIPA, the reporting that we have to do now starting January 1st of 2022. Our department, our goal is to start July 1st, 2021, because we want to jump 6 months ahead. We're called, I think Cindy said that we were the 3.5ers, they call us, because they gave us 4 years to do it. And we're doing it we want to do it in 3.5 years. So that's how much accountability all these departments are doing it. So we're moving in the right direction. We don't need a bill to tell us, that, you get the license. You're not going to have police officers wanting to come work no more. And not if they're going to do that, plus a qualified immunity, it's gone. You're not, and that's the reason. I'm looking at the long-term effects of this bill. But that's my opinion of a lot of police officers and a lot of police chiefs throughout the state of California.
Madam Mayor, thank you. Thank you, Chief Gerardo. So as a point of reference for me, and the law enforcement profession is the most, actually the law enforcement profession is the most regulated profession already, nationwide, if not globally. But I could certainly speak from experience and authority because I was a law enforcement officer at the municipal here, at the state, and also at the federal level. And I can tell you that I'll be the first one to, and by any means, Mr. Orlean, I'm not condoning violence and all the stuff that happens nowadays, and never, ever. And I'll be the first one to report if I see police brutality. So for me, I've read this bill here, and it's not really clear for me. I know they tried, it was tried a couple years ago to get that to the Senate, and it was died for whatever reason. And for me, I need a little bit more reading before I make my determination on that. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to table this item.
Councilmember Garcia. Councilmember Ureña.
Aye.
Councilmember Romo. Mayor Pro Tem Moreno.
Aye.
Mayor Rola Fernandez.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Madam Mayor, upon the clarification that was done when the agenda was approved regarding item 17, we're going to address that matter, and we can move to item 18. Item 17 was removed because there was a little misunderstanding as it pertains to which side of the Capitol we were dealing with. So with that said, Madam Mayor, item 18 is the appointment of an alternate member to the Southern California Association of Governments General Assembly. That's scheduled for May 6th. We appreciate the input that we received to the city clerk, because our understanding is that the two delegates that we've already designated by the city of Calexico, which is the mayor and the mayor pro tem, you folks are going to be busy attending business. There is a need to have an alternate member. And I do want to say that this is the clean way to do it. SCAG appreciates this. So with that said, the floor is yours.
Okay. Okay, I'd like to appoint Mr. Camilo Garcia, since he attended the last SCAG meeting. And yeah, and
Purify,
another agency, but you are very well aware of what it's about, and that's my motion. So. Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Is it a
Councilmember Romo.
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia. Councilmember Ureña.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moreno.
Aye.
Mayor Rola Fernandez.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay. Number 19, appointment by City Council Commissioner for Sales Tax Citizen Advisory Committee, Commissioner H. I think we only have one person that has applied, so what's going on, Gabby?
There was another one. There was an email that came in through Gabby Garcia. I don't know if you sent it to the rest of the council, but Norma forwarded a person without an application. Her name was Patricia Ureña, not my family member.
She did not submit her
Application. Yeah, just that second name.
Okay.
for consideration.
It's your determination. Right now, we have an application here as part of the packet. It's your call.
So, I mean, we do need to fill it, right? So I make a motion. Let's just want to open for discussion.
Yeah, because they're going to meet, so we need to have at least a full committee. That will be appreciated, I think. So I move to accept that, nomination.
I'll second it.
Measure H.
Measure H.
Measure 8. I mean,
Correct.
Yes.
Who is the person?
Angulo. Yvette Angulo. Ayala?
Yvette Ayala.
Oh.
It's in,
A other person or only one?
she's the only one here with an application.
Councilmember Garcia?
Aye.
Councilmember Romo? Councilmember Ureña?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moreno?
Aye.
Mayor Aurora Fernandez? Motion passes unanimously.
Now, 20, appointment by City Council Resident Commissioner to the Calexico Housing Authority Board. Also, we
Madam Mayor, we have one application. The name is Mr. Mario Acevedo. On his application, he does note that he is a former police officer. After doing some inquiry, it seems that he's a former officer, but not from America, but from Mexico. But he resides within the area of the Housing Authority, and he submitted an application.
I hear a motion to approve Mr. Mario Acevedo.
Yes.
I'll second.
Councilmember Garcia?
Aye.
Councilmember Romo?
Aye.
Councilmember Ureña?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Moreno?
Aye.
Mayor Aurora Fernandez? Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, now, future items.
I have for my notes, I have 2 items that were brought by Ms. Romo. I have 1 item that was brought up by Mr. Ureña. If there are other ones, please let me know.
Which item is it?
You requested recognition for the month of June, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, for proclamation, okay, yeah.
Miguel, I want to go back to, the report on the mixed use.
Yes, sir.
That I requested the last time. So if you can, expedite that, I would really appreciate it.
Yes.
Then also, I want to revisit on your report when you were talking about Cdbg and the funding and the finally we were able to get that award letter. So now just going back and revisiting, what we had approved, even back, in the days of the previous council,
So we can recap.
To make sure that we recap, and then also to make sure that we do what we said we're gonna do when we approve those funds, which was, if I believe it was the assistance for utilities.
Yes, sir.
So if you can just go ahead and make sure that we put it out there.
Absolutely.
So I would really appreciate it if we can do that. And then also, I would like to go back and, since we're talking now with the new application, the new Cdbg application, it's included, the funding for businesses.
Yes.
We passed that also, item in assistance to businesses, rental assistance, way back also, and I think that item just stayed there, and that was one of the items that Mr. Ureña brought up, and we passed. So if we can go back to that and see how we can, maybe, go back and use some of this funding, when we get it, or develop a strategy to use those funds to make sure that we capitalize on what we approve as a council a few meetings back.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Also, Miguel, what I would like an update on what's going on with the banks. The shade, and you mentioned that you reached out to the corporate, and I haven't seen anything happening.
Okay. We'll get an update
Also,
on that.
Bank of America.
Yes, both, right?
Both of them.
Yes. Mr. Moreno? I'm sorry, Ms. Romo.
Okay, Mr. Moreno, that's okay.
It's okay, ladies first.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I have two requests, please. It's very, very similar for Mr. Camilo. For our next meeting, I asked the city administrator to present an urgent business recovery program for the city's small business. The program should start immediately as soon as possible. include the state and federal support, please, Miguel.
Yes.
Okay, and second, for our next meeting too, I asked for Miguel Figueroa to present two urgent project to us to maintain the exercise equipment that Heffernan Memorial installed in some parks, creo que son five parks, and add the possibility of making an agreement with the Imperial Valley College to be able to install shadows in exercise equipment. Please.
Yes, noted.
Oh, second.
Thank you. And last but not least, Mr. Figueroa.
Yes.
So moving forward with the Farm Worker Service Center, I would like to make another presentation. Hopefully by then we would formalize with Classic Charities. Also, the trailers, right? What a little bit more of a where are we going to put them? An update if they're there already. What's going to cost us?
I actually, that's a very good point. I actually anticipate having an agenda item tied to that as it pertains to the responsibilities that we're going to have now with some of these agencies that are working with us. So,
Well, and then now that it was very enlightening from Ms. Mendoza here today,
Yes.
representing that we are going to touch bases, exchange business cards. I'd like to come aboard as stakeholders, one of the stakeholders also.
as a matter of fact, we already have her as a presenter for May 19th.
Okay. Thank you.
I did have a couple items. The first one is a budget amendment for either a part-time or a full-time grant writer. I think out of my 4 items, that one would be the priority. Budget amendment for a grant writer. While we're looking at budgets, a budget amendment for the public works equipment. The same list that was on the cannabis, that they requested out of the cannabis funds. I would like to see an item put out there to see if it's feasible to buy it out of the general fund or something out of existing funds. Also budget amendment. Third one is Assembly Bill 26 from the Assembly. And then the last one is potentially closed session. I don't know if it's closed or open session, but President Biden, just a couple of days ago, I believe on May 2nd, said that he will be returning the border wall funding to the Pentagon. If I remember correctly, that's Army money that was being used to build the double wall here from the land that we sold. I would like to see if we need to make some kind of action to desist that land sale now that that funding is no longer there. Closed session or open session, depending on where we need to start that conversation.
I'll check with legal on that. Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you. Good night, everybody.